I'm not even against the federalization of DC because the crime rates there are high. They've gone down, they're at record lows, but relative to other cities and other countries, the murder rates are high there. It's like 20s for the 100,000s in murder, which is like very high. America as a total is like 6. So I don't care about having more police on the ground, but Charlie's fascist rant that he goes on about this topic, it just takes it to a whole new level. Completely absurd.
It's time for us to get aggressive on crime. We need more people in jail. Write that down. We do not have enough people incarcerated in America. We need mass incarceration. People always say, oh, we have a mass incarceration problem. We have an under-incarceration problem. We just happen to be a very violent country. Get over it. Put them in jail for life. If you're going to start shooting up schoolyards, you're going to start getting kids caught in crossfire.
I mean, this is absurd. I don't care if we have more police force and more troops on the ground like we do in DC. That's all fine. Like, I think the police is pretty effective at what they do. I think there's better ways to decrease crime. Like the intelligent wing of defund the police would say, schools do a much better job at preventing crime and have much better outcomes for people than investing in police does. And it's like, that's totally fine. That's totally correct. And childcare does the same thing. Not being hungry does the same thing. It's like having air conditioning does the same thing. Being educated, it's like all of this stuff matters more than the police. But the police do have an effect. And they do have a deterrent effect if there's enough of them. But the sentences themselves are not deterrent. This is what Charlie completely misses. This is the whole like fascist imagery that he wants to sell, like people in jail for life for like stealing a toothbrush. It's like, no, we should have less sentences. Our sentences should be shorter. There's never been a single study that accounted for aging out of crime that has proven that longer sentences reduce recidivism. They only reduce recidivism insofar as the inmate gets older. And once you get older, your likelihood to commit a crime is absolutely through the floor. Like, it doesn't even happen. So we should have shorter sentences, more police. Also, we shouldn't be defunding the Department of Education and stuff that invests in our public schools. We shouldn't be going down the route of a school voucher system, which creates like more disparity between wealthy schools and poor schools, because it just increases wealthy kids' ability to go to nice private schools, and the poor private schools can't function because they can't make a profit. And the whole like idea of having these poor kids like travel an hour outside of their city or town to go to a nice private school is absurd. They have to go to a local one, and if the money's not there locally, then they're out of luck. So that's why public schools is much better, right? All this stuff directly runs counter to what Charlie Kirk is saying.
A job of a political leader must be the safety of their citizens. If you're a mayor of a major city, your job is to police the streets, to fix the streets and clean up the homeless. And since Muriel Bowser has not done her job in Washington, D.C., the tanks are going to be rolling. Play cut 309.
We're going to be removing homeless encampments from all over our parks, our beautiful, beautiful parks, which now a lot of people can't walk on. They're very dirty, we got a lot of problems. But we've already started that. We're moving the encampments away, trying to take care of people. We're getting rid of the people from underpasses and public spaces from all over the city.
I mean, as much as people don't like to admit it, like, removing encampments is one of like the only ways to help homelessness, because then they just go to cities that don't remove encampments, right? Which it's like, do I agree with it? I don't know. Do I think there's better ways to solve homelessness? Absolutely. Most of them are federal economic policies, but like, what can you do? It's a nation's capital. I don't have any complaints about it here. It's just when Trump goes on and says he's going to send these forces to Chicago, it's like, then you have a posse comitatus problem. That's obviously illegal in and of itself.
Many places that they can go, and we're going to help them as much as you can help, but they'll not be allowed to turn our capital into a wasteland.
Washington, D.C. has become a dumping ground for the third world and a safe haven for criminals. That is our nation's capital. We're not talking about the liberation of Toledo, Ohio, of course, which we should try to liberate all American cities. This is not the liberation of Portland, which we should do. This is our nation's capital. And do you know how disgusting it is when I drive the streets of D.C., and you
of course, he has to interject that it's the third worldization, as if all these homeless people are just like undocumented immigrants who came in from third world countries without being inspected or background checked at all, right? That's what he's insinuating here.
Ask the Saudi embassy, for example, big, beautiful building, and there's just homeless encampments all around it. It's embarrassing. So we have to accept that the sheiks of Qatar and the ruling class of Saudi Arabia and the prime minister of Japan, they see what we see, and it's humiliating. They see this. We're supposed to believe that these foreign leaders, you go down Embassy Row in Georgetown.
This is an economic problem. It's not going to be solved by putting people in jail. He was just talking about how we need to incarcerate more people, right? Homeless people do commit more crimes, I believe. Poor people commit more crimes. So homeless people, by proxy, commit more crimes. It's an economic problem, right? That's what you're talking about here. And your party does not want to implement any policies that would fix that. That's all I can say. In mass incarceration, that's one way to hide it, to put a Band-Aid on it, to give people life sentences for crimes that don't deserve life sentences. And to be honest, very few crimes should be given life sentences. Especially if you're 17, tried as an adult. Even if you did something horrible, you're not gonna do any recidivism if you get released at 60 years old. There's a strong argument for that. But then you have to also think about would the victims want their a criminal to be released even though they wouldn't do any recidivism. So I don't know. I would be fine with that. We're supposed to be running a civil society here. Which emphasizes liberty. It's something that we value. So if someone isn't going to go out and be a menace to society and steal people's stuff and injure people, then we should generally have them released. We shouldn't be keeping people in jail in general if they're going to be peaceful on the outside.
Embassy Row in Washington, D.C. And you got one after, you got Spain, you got Portugal, you got Croatia, one after the other. Boom, boom, boom. They see the graffiti. It's not a good look for a superpower. And we're just supposed to put up with it because we're afraid of being called racist. That dog doesn't hunt anymore. This is President Donald Trump saying once we liberate D.C., and by the way, I guarantee the crime is going to go whoop. It's going to go way down. And then the media will say, oh, it's only...
Not going to go way down, probably. It already is way down. For DC, if you want to... it would be good if it was below 10 for the murder rate, but it's above 20, I believe. But it's not going to go way down. There are other issues at play here. More so than the police. People who commit crimes don't say, oh, there's police there, I'm going to not commit my crime. Unless you have police everywhere, which is literally impossible at all times, right? That's not going to happen. But at least you can have somewhat of a deterrent and somewhat of a force to capture people before they can commit another crime. That's what the police are supposed to do. Get criminals after they commit their first crime, before they can commit another one. And to prevent people from committing their first crime, you need other institutions of society that Republicans completely ignore.
Going down because he brought in the military. Exactly. We need full military occupation of these cities until the crime desists. Period. We need a desisting of crime in our cities. We're not going to put up with it. I want to be able to walk Magnificent Mile in Chicago without having to look over my shoulder. Do you know crime is so bad in Chicago that if you get a fender bender, there's a new thing that the youths are doing? Remember, we have a big teenage problem of crime in our country, that teenagers will bang the back of your car as a fender bender. You come out to go trade insurance, and then they steal your car. In Chicago, the new guidance is that if you get a fender bender, drive to the nearest police station to trade insurance just in case They're there to steal your car. It's a real thing. It's happening all the time. By the way, get a burner. We advertise it all the time here on our program. I don't want to live in that country. You shouldn't either. Simple fix. You steal a car, 25 years in prison. I don't care if you're a teenager. I don't care if, well, I was raised without a dad. Well, you're going to go meet a new dad in jail. We're done. We're not putting up with it. We need more prisons.
Yeah, the Fox News lawyer who's talking like that Trump hired is like, I want to go after 14-year-olds, and it's like, that's not how you prevent any of this. That's not. It's all economic mostly. Like, I don't know the demographics of the people who commit crimes in DC, but it's not about, catching people getting away with multiple crimes. It's about a large base of people who are susceptible to committing one crime, not police being incompetent and allowing criminals to run rampant and murder like 10 different people before they get caught. Like, I don't think that's the main issue here. And of course, he's blatantly calling for something that's completely illegal, the federalization of these cities that we don't have any jurisdiction over, or we have limited jurisdiction over. We can't make civilian arrests. It's like complete disregard for the law. And that's what Charlie Kirk is. He doesn't care about the Constitution. He doesn't care about the law at all.
And we need more prisoners. Enough of this. And I honestly, I was once part of this whole prison reform thing. I look back at it and I just cringe at myself. It's a totally wrong premise. We are soft on crime in this country. We need discipline. We need the humiliation of criminals. We need order. You don't live in a nation if you can't walk the streets of San Francisco at night. You don't live in a country when young teenage girls can't walk the streets of LA. How is that a free society? You are appeasing the criminals.
Discover education that's attentive to your advancement. We're training passionate.
Stop coddling criminals because they happen to be a protected class. We don't believe in protected classes anymore, by the way. We're done with that. Game over. No more protected classes. We are all citizens made in the image of God. Oh, you're a protected class because, different skin color. Wrong. That regime was defeated back.
When did we ever protect people who committed certain crimes because their color of their skin? Like, the only time that's ever happened feasibly in human history, or not human history, in the last few decades is for white people. That's the only examples you can possibly come up with. Like, there's zero statistics ever you can find that we give black people or Hispanic people shorter sentences. And they shouldn't. But he's completely wrong on his premise here. Like, prison reform is about the condition of the prison while the inmates are inside of it. And that's, you must be in support of that. If you support the 8th Amendment, if you support prisoners not getting beaten up by guards and abused, right? Everyone can agree with that. That's prison reform, is weeding out the corruption. No one could possibly disagree with that. But sentencing reform is much more important to solving or decreasing the amount of incarcerations we have, or actively incarcerated people. Just on the principle that someone who's peaceful should generally not be in prison.
In November, that whole worldview was gone, over, done, kaput, sayonara. Instead, a new worldview has ascended, which is, we're not going to make accommodations for criminals. We're going to do mass deportations. If you're black and you commit a crime, you go to jail. If you're white and you commit a crime, you go to jail. Human equality.
That's how it's been forever. That's how it's been. Except for people getting a little bit of a preferential treatment, as the data tends to show. But that's about it. Federalize DC if you want. Don't federalize other cities. Other cities can vote for what they want to vote for. Chicago has a sanctuary city regime that I personally disagree with because they don't communicate with ICE for violent criminals. They don't communicate with ICE for anything. I respect it as a law, as handing over civil immigration to federal authorities completely. That's what Chicago is doing. They have the right to do that. They can have Fourth Amendment issues with complying with detainers or complying with ICE at all. But at least California complies with the ICE outside of detainers when the inmate is violent or is a national security threat or whatever. But Chicago is nothing. Illinois is nothing, which is a problem. But it doesn't mean you can take the city over